Okay, I'm definitely a kid of the 60's, and this is what I think we were up to. This is what we were trying to do. It took me a hell of a long time, but I'd like to introduce you to impulsing because it's about defining how we work so that we can work well. That's what it's all about. So I'd like to introduce you to impulsing. It's a way of looking at how the nervous system works that we can use to trace impulse activity in the nervous system and describe the work that gets done, including consciousness, including forming consciousness. And with this insight, then we can see what it takes to restore balance, what it takes to maintain emotional health, which I believe is as important as any other kind of health in our makeup. I'm Denise Ingebo. I'm an independent theorist in neuroscience, the study of the nervous system at the lay level. And when I was younger, a problem I had was that my feelings hurt a lot. And when it didn't get better, I began what became a lifelong study because I believed you have to know how you work before you can fix something. And this became a lifelong study in learning how feelings happen so that I could see what it takes to maintain balanced feelings. So, if you think that hurt feelings are the basis, are partly responsible for bad behavior and the disruption and pain that it causes both domestically and between groups of people, I think you'll be interested in this theory because it shows how feelings, including hurt feelings, are formed and how they're released, and shows us how we can use them to both restore and maintain balanced feelings, emotional health. Which then makes this ripple effect of bad behavior and the pain it causes less likely. Okay, well, after a few years working on my own, I was admitted to the University of Oregon Clark Honors College, independent study in the Department of Neurobiology. And the technique that I used led to proposing the presence of impulse trails in the nervous system. Impulse trails, or impulsing, that circulate and do different work as different areas are energized, including again forming consciousness, which we can use, which is insight we can use. So it works like this. The nervous system begins with sensory neuron groups embedded in the body's tissue, where they're the ears and the eyes and in the skin and the muscle, and where they are connected to other groups that reach inward and form even larger, more specialized neuron groups towards the center of the body. And then when they're packed together, they form the spinal cord and the brain. Then connections reach back to the body tissue. So, in effect, so the nervous system begins and ends in the body's tissue. It's a circuitry, an evolved circuitry. On this backdrop, when sensory groups absorb energy, when sensory groups are monitoring conditions in the body and the environment, I'm talking about again the eyes and the ears and so on, when they're monitoring conditions in the body and the environment, they're absorbing energy, light waves, sound waves, pressure, tension, temperature, and they immediately translate that into another form of energy called electrochemical energy, which we call impulses. And then patterns of impulses are generated through these pathways of linked neuron groups, lightning-like, forming a lightning-like series of energized neuron groups like dominoes, electric dominoes that again do different work as different areas are energized. So it's a little like describing electricity and then describing the work it does as components of radio, for example, are energized to form a stream of sound. In this case, we'll see how impulsing in the conscious pathways forms a stream of consciousness. So I begin to believe that impulsing may be as fundamental to understanding how the nervous system works as electricity is to understanding how radio works, right? So let's apply it to the conscious pathways. Okay, so here we will be tracing impulsing through 4 linked areas, forming an inner circuitry of the nervous system that we can call the conscious pathways. And these are 4 linked areas that neuroscientists associate with consciousness or conscious work. And as impulsing passes through these 4 areas, we'll see how they form a series of conscious instants as trails pass an inner set of groups in the circuitry that they all have in common. And as trails pass this dedicated group of neuron groups, we will see how we experience a single conscious instant that gather are formed one after another, that blur together and form our consciousness. So beginning with sensory groups, we'll see that when series of groups are energized, we'll see how we experience a sensation. Then we'll see how when this trail goes on, it forms a record of the conscious instant just experienced into a vast network of records that we make up all our life. And then when this trail continues, it energizes related records having some of those same qualities in common. And this energized area gives us, and so it energizes an area of this network, and we experience this as recognition or orientation. Now, when these energized areas gather and overlap, they form a resolution, and this reinforced pattern gives us a thought. Now, when a different set of energized areas gather and overlap and resolve, they send a pattern, a trail to the body's muscle tissue, which elicits a pattern of tones having the same pattern of tones as the preceding sensation or thought. Okay, so we have a physical reflection of each sensation and thought. This physical reflection stays for as long as the sensation or thought is energized. And when the thought or the sensation is no longer present, the tension is released. And we experience this reversal of tension as a kind of balance that we call emotional balance. So the resolution or the resolving activity in these conscious pathways give us the ongoing formation and release of feelings that we feel as emotional well-being, as emotional balance. In fact, just knowing, for me anyway, just knowing that we're all designed to resolve has given me a sense of security, and knowing that we all have the same common needs. We're all on the same page when it comes to this. We're all designed to resolve. That's a good thing. That gives me a different form of emotional well-being. So, in 2000, I published a book called The Conscious Stream, Review Edition, which outlines these concepts. So, when you have a description of how a system works, and you can relate activity to certain feelings, these feelings then become signals for restoring balance or maintaining balance in systems. So when you know how a system works, you know how it stays in balance, which is another word for staying healthy. So, for example, when we experience scurvy, we use our insight on how that metabolism system works and provide vitamin C that releases the distress of scurvy and restores balance in the system. Now, the conscious pathways, when we have an understanding of how the system works, we can, when we experience emotional distress, for example, we can use our insight to see what's happened as a signal. That distress becomes a signal to see what happens, and then we can propose what needs to happen in the other areas that will release the tension and restore balance. But soon afterwards, I realized we need more. These may be, if we can call this basic concepts, basic science, if it is a good description of how the system works and we can call it basic science, then we need more. We need some concepts to help us maintain emotional balance in the system. So, for example, again, when we understand metabolism, we take that insight and we develop a balanced diet, and then that keeps fatigue and scurvy or whatnot from coming up in the first place. Well, we need something similar for our conscious health, our emotional health. So I haven't clarified those concepts yet, but we got a good start. And the start is that a healthy emotional health is based on a healthy lifestyle, which is based on ongoing balanced feelings. A lifestyle made of activities that leaves balanced feelings in its wake. And that keeps these other distresses from coming up in the first place. So when we understand how we work, we can begin to develop and refine our own personal, unique character, our own lifestyle that keeps us emotionally well. And then we can meet, this is on a personal basis, then we can meet locally and identify the personal and social activities that help us further refine and develop our lifestyle, and also identify and then be able to develop intellectual and physical resources that meet the needs of our community and our interfacing communities and cultures that make up our planet. So, now's the time to finish this new edition. And I need help. So far, I've clarified and refined the concepts in the first edition. I've updated the terminology. I've added illustrations. And I've begun defining the concepts we need to maintain balance. To do this more efficiently, I'm planning on a Kickstarter campaign that is actually a little different than traditional Kickstarter campaigns because the donation is $20 maximum and all backers receive the same reward, which is also available to anyone else who's interested when it's completed. If you'd like to help jumpstart this campaign and you have a PayPal account, you can donate to impulsing@icloud.com. Now, since this is a shared endeavor that many of us can be a part of, and since I totally believe that primary communication will be between backers and progress will be among backers, I will, as I work, I will use some new and some of the same old concepts while I provide routine updates to both Kickstarter.com and impulsing.net. And if we stay in sync with our progress, we can do well. We can get this done efficiently. So, if you would like to support this new edition, or if you know someone who's interested, you're welcome to partake and pass it on. I'm Denise Ingavo. This is August 25th, 2016. Thank you.